It's time to get nerdy, y'all.
A little bit of gaming history for you.
Something relevant in gaming and discuss our opinions on it.
Should we kick it out of here, or should we kickstart it?
This is the part where you, the listeners, try to stump the hosts.
I'm not a lawyer. I just play one on a podcast. Ladies and gentlemen, lads and lasses of all ages, welcome to the show. It is Tuesday, not Monday, Tuesday, April 15th, 2025, and you know what that means. It means it's time to do your taxes. And then when you're done, get nerdy. Welcome to episode 338 of Two Nerds in a Pod, the nerdiest gaming podcast in the multiverse. I am Maction, one of your co-hosts, and in place of our usual Mr. Nice Guy 425, we are joined by Metzgirl, longtime friend of the show, and thrilled to have her back with us. And for the next hour, we are going to cover topics ranging across the spectrum about video games, whether that's news, history, trivia, lawsuits, and everything in between. But Metzgirl, how you doing?
Hey, hi Mac. I'm feeling pretty good. It's been a while. It's good to be back in the old podcast recording seat. Like even my own podcasts have like kind of calmed down, and I don't record them as much, so it's very nice to be here.
Well, it's great to have you. You've been a guest with us a couple of times, and we're just thrilled to have you. Reunited, and it feels so good.
Wait, that was last episode. What?
Yes, I did use that exact same one. But you know what? Just because it was true last episode doesn't mean it also isn't true this episode. And this, dear listener, is how you know that Metzgirl listens to the show as well as participates, because she knows the musical references.
Also, I have the exact same instinct for that particular reference every single time you do it, and it's just same wavelength. It's great.
It's good to be on the same wavelength on the same show.
Indeed.
Now, normally I, of course, would throw to Lom and be like, oh, how you've been since last week. But you know, it might have been a bit longer in our particular case. So, yeah. But I hope things are well with you. Anything exciting going on you care to share? No pressure. If not, I've got some stuff.
The tax thing is very relevant because I was attempting to do some tax work myself earlier, and it is unpleasant, to say the least.
I hope we're not keeping you.
No. I just don't like to. Like, the whole process from tip to stern is just terrible.
So what you're saying is I'm actually saving you, rescuing you from the taxes.
Oh, yes.
We do what we can where we can. Well, over on my side, it's been interesting. Of course, those of you who know, I recently went out to the Midwest. Lom and I got together for the Midwest Gaming Classic. I got a chance to take a nice long train journey, and it was fun and exciting, and visited some friends along the way.
Are you talking about when you came to my house?
What? What are you even? Yes, of course.
Yes, it was absolutely lovely to actually have you in person. It was fantastic.
Thanks, Metzgirl. Obviously got to hang out with Lom in person. Also got to hang out with the real Kingler 99. He actually came to Midwest Gaming Classic with us. We all stood in line together. Some funny stories about that, but I'll save that for when Lom's here, because that'll be a fun story to tell in two different perspectives. But yeah, no, and a fun visit to you and yours as well. So missing you as well, but also glad that we get to hang in this space at this time too. So, and thanks for opening your house to me.
Oh yeah, anytime. My house is your house. Mi casa su casa.
Hey, podcasting is the gift that keeps on giving, especially when you need a place to crash.
You're seriously not the only person I have podcasted with that I've also met IRL and like hung out in person. So
see, this is the world that opens to you when you podcast. So everybody out there, podcast, meet strangers on the internet, and
become IRL friends. Yep.
Exactly. This is the way it should be. Well, anyway, a fantastic, but why don't we go ahead and let's do what we do best here on this show, and that is talk about the vidya gaming. Hop right into the gaming news, as Lam would say. And Metzgirl, you have been so kind as to fill those shoes, and as I understand it, you have some news for us.
Yeah, so it's kind of repeat news in a way, because it's all basically related to things that have already existed, more or less. So, like, for instance, Xenoblade Chronicles X, not a new game, but it came out on Switch. Super duper exciting, and one of those things that my daughter's absolutely obsessed with, and I get to hear the entire story before I could even think of playing it. So it's kind of nice to secondhand experience these things.
So having never experienced, I'm excited for this game of telephone here. Xenoblade Chronicles, like, what type of game is this?
Oh, it is the JRPG-iest JRPG you've ever played. It's just all of the characters with all of the big badass moves, all of the like shiny, your screen is almost not visible because of all of the effects going off at once during a battle, and like the most drawn out, worldly, like the entire world building situation, all the things. Oh, and not to, of course, there's like the cute characters, the little Nippon in this particular world. And then there's the metallic characters, and there's the more animal character, and then there's the more human character, like they do.
Yeah. And
the whole storyline is hundreds of hours of gameplay. And if you complete all the side quests, it's also more hundreds of hours, one of those deals.
Yeah. JRPGs can really, they can be a long endeavor. So this is Xenoblade Chronicles 2 has come to the Nintendo Switch, and that's the news bit?
Yeah, that it came to the Switch. Sorry.
Gotcha. No, not at all. I was just, in my mind, you had said, like, Nintendo Switch 2, and I was going to make a joke like, oh, but do we know if there's going to be Skyrim on the Switch 2?
Oh, no.
Because that is, for those new to the show, I am always knocking consoles for being like, OMG, we have Skyrim! I get it, it's a great game, but putting that as as a selling point forward, that our console launched in 2017 has a game from 2011 is not the dunk that you try and make it sound like. It was ridiculous then, still ridiculous now. I hope people who have the Nintendo Switch 2 get it. Just, I hope nobody cites that as being, OMG, this is why it's the best.
Absolutely fair. But yeah, the other big piece of news, it's the last big BG3 update that is going to come out ever, according to the development team. Like, this is the end of their development window, so there's no new content. It's just going to be patches and updates from here. There are entire Discords that I am in where that's almost all they're talking about. Is playing through this big update and like finding all of the little pieces that have been changed or updated or what have you, and it's adorable, and I am not into it. I'm so sorry.
You're not crawling those data packets to figure out exactly what adjustments have happened?
Like, I'll play the first round of it, and then
sure, if
I'm super into it, absolutely, I will play the shit out of it. I was playing Stardew.
Yeah.
Still this week. Like, it's just what I do. But when it comes to a game that, like, I play for a while and then, like, I kind of get to a point where I'm either, like, sick of the game or, like, I'm just done, Like, I put 50 hours into this, but that's enough, That's where I am with this one.
Gotcha. So, Baldur's Gate 3, and you mentioned Stardew, a little piece of news that maybe you were going for, maybe not. Have you heard about the Stardew Valley Baldur's Gate 3 crossover?
I have. I forgot about it, and it did not come up in my search.
Indeed. Well, it's also not news because it's old. And the old thing was, that it was a thing.
Okay.
And then Wizards of the Coast issued a DMCA takedown because, and then because everybody got big mad, they were like, oh, so sorry, we didn't mean to do that. Must have been a total mistake. And then they walked it back, and now it's up again. So if you fancy modding Stardew, you can have that kind of mod, although it's still very much a work in progress, as I understand, and so far you can only romance Astarion of the crew in it. I know. Where is love for
Why?
Karlach? Where's love for Shadowheart?
Limitations. How dare. That's
dare.
not
How
what
very
BG3 players are looking for.
Not at all, and definitely not what Stardew players are looking for either.
No, we want to romance everybody at the same time, preferably.
Exactly, except for Shane. I hard line at Shane.
Yeah,
not my guy.
That one's fair. I personally don't like Penny either, but
Oh, okay. I can see that, but oh well. We'll have to. This is a whole nother episode, as Lom and I are fond to say. But I have gotten us off on a tangent there.
indeed. So anyway, with Baldur's Gate 3 patch, most of the news that I have seen of recently. However, there is one game that is coming out. Includes multiplayer. And I don't know if I've mentioned it on the show before, but one of my biggest pet peeves anymore is that I have a 12-year-old. I want to game with him. He loves his video games. I like spending time with him, and the kind of video games that I like, he also likes, right? Usually we're like in sync. Most of those video games are like one player. Well, minus Stardew, but like, Astroneer, you can't play together on one console. So I'm hoping that this really does mean on the same screen. But it's called Ikuma, the Frozen Compass.
Okay.
And it is Lost Ember Studio. It's their new game. It has like really good graphics, and it has like a really nature-esque kind of thing. And you're running dog sleds through frozen tundra. But it's got dogs, it's got adventure, and it seems kind of cozy at the same time a little bit. So like,
Yeah.
it looks like it's right up my alley.
Nice. Now, I think one of the most important questions, can you pet the dogs?
I don't know yet. It's not out.
There is I believe, if not a website, I believe it's at least a repository that answers specifically that question in a video game.
A Twitter account, actually.
A Twitter account. Okay. Wrong once again, Mac.
It's all good, but yes, I have seen the "Can you pet the dog" posts before, so I know exactly what you're talking about. And in the what we've been gaming, I will talk about that.
Ooh, okay. Fantastic. Oh, well, I don't want to cut you off prematurely.
No, I'm good. Unless you have other news, because the news this week was very slim.
Well, the only other thing I want to say before we leave news today is just a quick announcement on a sale. Red Dead Redemption 2 is on sale for $15 on Steam until April the 17th. Now, Red Dead Redemption 2, maybe it's your thing, maybe it's not your thing. As referenced a couple of episodes ago, Jack Black considers it to be gaming perfection. In his 2003 song Video Games, he calls it not just a video game, but an experience. Ooh. And so it's definitely been on my mind ever since Lom asked me that question. But anyway... well, now we move on over to a little bit of video game history. Some of the things that happened this last week and years before. And I have so many splendid things to share. For example, on the 13th in 1991, we had the release of Link to the Past for the Super Nintendo. It is considered to be among the greatest games of all time, and I think it still, to this day, holds up super well. Kim, I've got a story or two about Link to the Past, but do you have any special connection to it?
I've never No, I take that back. I have played it. I've not played it to completion personally, but
Okay.
my kids absolutely love it as well. And just seeing their faces light up when they solve a Zelda puzzle is I would like to bottle that emotion. It is so good. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. I certainly love it. It was one of those things where you see, the early days of the Nintendo, really the early days of video games were kind of difficult for me because my parents bought us a Nintendo, an NES, and we got it for Christmas one year, and it was closer to, I want to say it was closer to 1990 or so, right in there as the NES was on its way out, and that was the only video game console that they bought.
Oh.
So I very much had this like lull of several years where I was the biggest gamer in my family, and yet I didn't have the means to purchase game consoles or video games for that matter.
Right.
Which meant I had to like play it at a friend's house. Link to the Past is one of those that I have fond memories of hanging out at a friend's house, watching them play it, getting a chance to try it out myself just a little bit. It wasn't until many, many years later that I actually completed the game. So it has both that simultaneously foot in both worlds, both in the old world as well as the new one, for me. But I love it, and I think it holds up great.
I had a similar situation where I had the NES and did not have the SNES, but my friends did, so it balances out.
Yeah, it does sometimes. Well, let's see. A couple of others. I think I'll hop to 2005. Release on the original Xbox, a game called Jade Empire, which was this attempt. It was done by the same people who did Knights of the Old Republic, which was a Star Wars title, and Jade Empire was definitely not. It was very much set in a sort of mystical China type of setting. And very much this fighting game. You had multiple fighting styles that each had their own strengths and weaknesses. There were some fighting styles that you had to use exclusively to fight ghosts so that you could punch ghosts. But just a real fun thing that built on what BioWare had done in the sort of RPG scene with Knights of the Old Republic. It was built on a lot of the same principles, and then adding the sort of action fight scenes that in Knights of the Old Republic would be, pseudo turn-based and kind of D&D 3.0 style-esque, whereas in Jade Empire it was very much more action fighting style. So the fights felt a lot better, but had some of that good, solid BioWare action. Yeah, I don't know if you ever played Jade Empire.
I have not, but I remember you talking about this game previously. And yeah. I've at least downloaded it on my Xbox.
Hey! Well, when the time comes around, I look forward to hearing what you thought about it. Maybe it holds up as well as I say, maybe not.
It's always hard to tell, especially with something set in anywhere Middle East.
Yeah, it's true. Well, let's see. Just two more real quick before we trot along. One released in 2014 for the PC called Broforce. A fun, irreverent take on the sort of commando style of things. Everybody winds up being bro something. You've got Brobocop instead of Robocop. Indiana Brones instead of Indiana Jones, and it very much is a product of its time. The early 2014, in the sort of tongue-in-cheek,
bro.
Yep, exactly.
Hey, bro. What's up, bro?
Explosions and everything. Very much a love letter to crappy action movies of, say, the 90s, for example. But the one last one, and this one is one that you can get. It released on 2013 for the PC, but you can get it on an Android device if you wanted to play it on your phone or tablet or whatever, and it's called Evoland. And the main idea of the game is to be a evolution of the video game. So when it starts out, you have kind of a very Game Boy graphics or NES graphics style of interface with the game. And as you move, stuff opens up and unlocks. You get to the point where, where at first you're only moving left. And then you unlock, oh, you can move right now. And then you can cut down bushes. Eventually you'll get to this point where you can toggle back and forth between, between a SNES style and a PlayStation 3D style. With pre-rendered backgrounds. It is as much a video game as it is a commentary on the evolution of games as well. Evoland is truly a fun experience. You'll beat it in you'll beat it in like 4 or 5 hours.
Okay.
And it has ostensibly this sort of, larger than life JRPG style background story.
Okay.
But at the end of it, hopefully you come to a sort of appreciation for just how far video games have come from the early styles, the early tactics, and the early technology to kind of where we are today, or at least where we were in the today of 2013. And so I can hardly think of a better thing to close out history than a video game meant to guide you on a tour of gaming history itself. So if you haven't, Evoland, get it on your phone or whatever and play through it and just kind of enjoy where we are.
Fascinating.
Yeah, I like it.
I probably will try that at some point. It will make me feel nostalgic and old at the same time.
Well, I will just say that if you fancy, you can get the Evoland is on sale until the 18th on Steam for $2.50. So now, one thing that I find wild about this, and sorry, I'm seeing it just as we're talking, is that it's got a Metacritic review of 61. Who hurt you, Metacritic? Who hurt you? Because, is it a perfect game? No, but, the point... You know what? I can't do this right now. Evoland.
All right, then.
Well, and that has been our video game history for today.
Well, I guess that takes us to our topic of the week.
Woohoo!
The Nintendo Switch 2, I realize, was kind of your topic of the week last week, even though you didn't really do, a section thing.
Right. Yeah, it was the whole episode. We recorded that on a Friday, and literally nothing has happened since.
It was the huge announcement, but there's been some non-gaming things that have happened since. I'm sorry to tell you that are terribly affecting this.
Oh no.
Yeah, there's that whole trade war that's happening, and Nintendo, even though they're a Japanese company, their stuff comes from China. So that 145% tariff or whatever it is, that's hitting the Switch. And as far as I have heard, they have shut down pre-orders because they don't know if they'll even really be able to sell them here.
Yeah. So as far as I'm aware, right after we recorded, which would have been on the 5th or something like that, it was before we went to Midwest Gaming Classic, the pre-orders had been, suspended. And then last week I had heard that they were putting the pre-orders back and that was going to happen, that they were still going to ship as scheduled, but that pre-orders were going to start up in, I guess, May. But that could have changed.
At the very least, they are delayed, it sounds like.
It does.
And, this is not the only thing that's affected either by these tariffs.
Oh,
because a good chunk of, smartphones and computers are exempt, but that doesn't include gaming consoles. So, good news, PC gamers. You should theoretically, if the exemptions hold, which we'll see, but for the time being, they are currently exempt. So if you are a PC gamer, you are in a much better financial situation if you need to buy anything.
Yeah, what a good time to be playing a Steam Deck. I love a topic like this, Metzgirl, because there's so much unknown, but also I hate a topic like this because there's so much unknown.
The real thing is that nobody really understands, what does the 145% tariff really mean for us? Like, is this they pay it and then we pay their cost, or are we just paying our people from our side's cost? Or like, do you know for sure how it all works?
No. And I would be a fool if I said that I did.
Okay.
But for most serious economists and economic thinkers, a tariff is just a tax that your people are going to wind up paying on the foreign goods. And
oh, okay.
Yeah. So, I mean, there are people who claim that, that, for example, the 100 and whatever percentage tariff that we put on Chinese goods means that that China will pay that, and those people are laughed at in serious economic circles. There are also people who say that tariffs will ensure that you have your own abilities, brought back within your country. Like, so that a tariff on Chinese goods will make you less dependent on those goods because you'll start making them in-house in order to avoid the tariffs. And that is also not really accepted from anybody who is serious in the economics world, not least of which being is that almost literally every supply chain we have has been built over decades and decades of comparative advantage, right?
Right.
And this goes back all the way to the 1800s. This is Ricardo, right? Also Adam Smith in 1776, Wealth of Nations, talked about it as well. But there could be a country, that country A's workers can produce every single good, every single imaginable thing. They can produce it more efficiently than workers in any other country. But the issue is not can you do it more efficiently, but like what you have to forego doing because of the limitations of math in order to make literally every single good yourself. Right. And so even if you have country A better at doing everything than country B, they're still going to trade because country A can stop giving up their time to do literally everything in order to just give up the things that cost them the least to miss out on and pay lower prices from country B. And both of the countries wind up being, a little bit better and get a little bit better of a deal by collaborating in that way. And therefore, over decades and decades and decades of these sorts of things, figuring out where the noodle lies and where things are, we wind up creating whole entire sectors, industries, and supply chains that are around the world. I mean, if you want to get to the crazy, ridiculous, those terrible, bleeding heart liberals like Milton Friedman talked all about how no one country in the world makes their own pencils, their own number 2 pencils, because it comes from products from all around the world. And this was in the 80s. You can tariff and start doing your own stuff in-house. It never makes more sense than to trade, and we've known that since 1817. Could we make a Nintendo Switch 2 in America? Yes, we absolutely could. Give us a decade to literally get everything off the ground.
Build the plants.
Locate the things. And that's assuming we even had the raw natural resources in-house. So anyway, yeah, we've known that was BS since 1817. So, I don't have that much room in my heart for people who pretend that is the case. I'm sorry, I may have gotten a little
soapboxy, a little bit.
I'm never soapboxy on this podcast, am I?
Sure, we can pretend that.
We can pretend that.
Perhaps I have picked poorly for the topic of the week.
As long as you just wanted to listen to me rant, then you picked very well. But and as a reminder, y'all, we don't really do prep as a team, even with the wonderful Metzgirl, we don't prep these things as a team. So if I got something wrong, I'm sure I got some of those dates wrong, I'm sure I mispronounced Gregory Mankiw's name, then, come at me. I'll accept it, but that was off the dome.
Oh boy. Yeah. So the Nintendo Switch 2 price is going to be like $600 with tariffs if it works.
Well, yeah, who knows? And what's the, where are you doing the tariffs? Because a lot of goods, it's like the raw goods go from point A to point B and then back to point C. I remember a lot of auto manufacturers were talking about this. They're like, even a car that is presumably like a Ford that is presumably made in the USA comes from parts from so many different countries. At each, we bring in this, but we send out the variable transmission, and then that gets put together into the transmission case across the border in Canada, and then that gets sent back. At every single one of these junctures, it's going to get, it's going to get dinged. It's going to get in. Yeah. So, So, I mean, and who knows? Who knows where it's going on? Yep. So the price.
So the price of a Switch 2 is going to be roughly $600 if this sticks around or what have you. And so part of the problem with the pre-orders is they don't know what to charge people. So they're trying to figure out, like, can we do the pre-order? And, like, I'm guessing they're going to have to default to what they think the highest will be and then have people pay, like, half of that. Or maybe it's just like, we don't know. You'll find out the day of, and hopefully you can afford it. Because normally they, like, charge when you get it, right? Like
I've always, when I've ordered something, I've always, paid for it right then, and then they've shipped it.
We don't know because of how unstable things are right now.
Yeah.
It makes me worried in my soul for a lot of reasons.
Sure.
And I am hopeful that things calm down before they get to the point of pre-orders so that we can have some clearer answers, because I can't pre-order a $600 anything,
But we especially can't pre-order the $600 thing when we don't know what it's going to be.
I can't afford another $150. Yeah.
I know. For that $150, we could have afforded one game, two
For
games.
Sure.
We'll see.
And we'll also see what happens if the power of the dollar continues on its trend downward. But we won't dive into that just yet.
Yeah, I would say that monetary policy is probably more complicated than Alan Greenspan skiing backward down a black hole made of Laffer curves.
Yeah.
And for the two people for whom that made sense, you're welcome.
All right. Well, that was my bit about the topic for the week.
Oh, Metzgirl, I am.
Also, Silksong is
Oh.
coming with that, and that has been in my house.
Yes.
My kiddo absolutely fell in love with Hollow Knight originally and has been telling me all about the Silksong news all along. Every little tweet or whatever that blog post.
Silksong is this generation's version of Half-Life 3 confirmed.
And she is so jaded that even though it was on the Nintendo Direct, she's still like, I won't believe it until I'm playing it.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I've been burned before too, kiddo. Yeah, I'm right with you. I will believe it when it's in my hands.
Exactly. And it's just... So, if the Nintendo Switch 2 doesn't get here... And that's the reason that Silksong doesn't happen this time, where you're going to have a lot of very angry people.
Also, I don't know if this is to be trusted necessarily or not, but I believe I had the notion in my head that people who kickstarted Hollow Knight were getting codes to Silksong. And
Ooh.
I believe that has been confirmed. According to Game Rant, Team Cherry has good news for Hollow Knight Kickstarter backers. Kickstarter backers are reassured by Team Cherry of their platform of choice selection for keys before Silksong's launch.
Okay.
And
okay.
yeah, so it does look like that. A Team Cherry representative replied to the backer, reassuring fans on the funding page that the team would be reaching out before the launch of Silksong to ask for their desired platform of choice.
That's amazing.
Yeah. So, Kickstarter backers, Kickstarter is sometimes the gift that keeps on giving. And on that note, Metzgirl, let's turn to a Kickstarter project.
Ooh.
A new one, a little something that's trying to get off of the ground. This is called Hopetown, a psychogeographic CRPG. Now, where I come from, CRPG stands for computer RPG.
What does it mean, though?
Yeah, we'll get there. Just the big details first. $33 for a minimum for a digital copy of the game, expected to release in December 2028. They claimed to be, and I mean, I believe them, that they became fully funded in about 300 hours and change, or as they put on there, 200 minutes. It has well exceeded its $32,000 goal, up to $144,000 as of this record. And they boast some of the people like Disco Elysium and Kentucky Route Zero alumnus people who worked on those games. And the idea behind it, I like. So I'm going to keep talking and give Metzgirl another second or two to push through this. Now, this is the first effort from this studio called Longdue, Longdue. And as such, we do have a lot of stuff to show for individual people. Levinall Brown, narrator of Disco Elysium, Ben Babbitt, one of the trio of people on Kentucky Route Zero, Powell Blazak, I'm sorry I ruined your name, did music composition on The Witcher and Witcher 3. What is it? So it is an RPG, emphasis on exploration and conversation.
Okay.
Chatting with people in the world, opening up new areas and learning things. Ostensibly, you are supposed to be a journalist, but you're also like a rich kid who's gotten kicked out of the family. It's I'm not entirely sure I know exactly what we're doing with that, but it's got this sort of strange coal mining vibe to the whole place. And you're trying to figure out, what is it? What's going on? Cover it up, spin it, as all good journalists would. And so on. Anyway, Metzgirl, you've had a second to take a look at it. Do you have any more idea than I do what this game is?
I have no clue.
Yeah, me neither. And I think that's a problem.
Like, it sounds like a point-and-click adventure, maybe?
Mm-hmm.
But what's psychogeography, though?
Yeah,
I don't...
It's kind of weird because, like, the more you read, like, as you read the words...
It just gets more confusing.
It does. It does. The entire text of the Kickstarter, in my opinion, is various marketing buzz with no real description of how the game is or is to be played.
I found skill categories.
Well, what did the skill categories reveal for us?
They're not just checked during dialogue.
Oh, excellent. So how do they unlock things? Fallout, Baldur's Gate, Planescape Torment, Neverwinter Nights, Pillars of Eternity, Divinity Original Sin.
This feels like they SEO'd it to death. Like,
yes.
No shame in that game. Like, legitimately.
Sure, I mean, you gotta play the game.
You gotta do that to get out there. But, like, it really feels like they're just like, hey, Disco Elysium? We're doing that again. And I don't know what Disco Elysium is other than confusing. Like, legitimately.
Yeah, so I've not played Disco Elysium yet, and maybe if I had played either Disco Elysium or Kentucky Route Zero, I would understand what a psychogeographic CRPG is. But at the end of the day, they can't really explain in words that I understand what this video game is or what it does. there is no playable demo, and all they really have to show is concept art.
Which is pretty concept art. It's gorgeous. Congrats, artist.
But at the end of the day, concept art does not a video game make. So this is, I mean, obviously, we wish everybody the best in their ventures. Longdo, you are clearly going to make out like a bandit with this Kickstarter project, and I hope you deliver a fantastic game. I hope I'm proven wrong. But to my eyes, this is everything wrong with a Kickstarter project, because all it is promises, promoting synergy, and other corporate buzzwords.
We're just gonna circle back to this, so let's just put a pin in this one, and we'll come back. Yeah.
Oh, don't you come for my pins, okay? I need those pins. But yeah, no, I see nothing here that actually expresses what's going on. And you know what's great? You've got a high concept video game. If you had a demo, I could try it out. I could get an idea.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I recently had somebody, I played a game called Sayonara Wild Hearts, and it's basically a rhythm game with a little bit of stuff like that. It's got a lot of interesting concepts. There we go. Awesome. I explained it. Another game, same devs, Lorelei and the Laser Eyes. It's a third-person view puzzle game with a whole bunch of weird, wild, and kind of crazy stuff thrown in the mix. Like, are you dead? Am I dead? Who knows? There we go. I explained it. Couple of minutes.
Hopetown as the more I read it, this makes sense.
This is the madness. Yep.
Okay, so we go from, within the first, what is Hopetown? Trying to explain what's going on. And then tries to explain it's a game. Okay, so I was looking for, what is Hopetown? Are we talking about the place? Because this sounds like that's what you would name your futuristic sci-fi whatever.
Yeah, I guess.
Hopetown. Cool, okay. So it's not talking about the town, it's talking about the game. And then it talks about, the game is about exploration, conversation, excavation?
I told you, them coal miners.
Okay, so we're exploring coal mines. But then we're talking about a magical blade. We're talking about an adventuring party.
No.
But they're the voices in your head.
You won't roll dice to see if you hit with your magical blade. You use words like daggers, finding the weak spots in your target's armor. You won't have a tank, healer, or crowd control in your adventuring party. But the voices in your head and the companions at your side will fight with you and against you all the same. You'll reach the darkest depths of the soul and the brightest zeniths of the human connections. Just do it quick, before the end of the world.
This sounds like a 16-year-old is trying to slap together a book report or something for, I have to get this essay done tomorrow, and I haven't even read the first article to begin research, right? Sorry, my eyes are bleeding, Mac.
No, I understand. I'm sorry to have done this to you. Now, by the time this, is edited and posted, the Kickstarter will have already concluded. We will only have to wait until December 2028 to find out what exactly. Yep.
What?
Yep. We have to wait to find out what exactly Hopetown is. But, again, this is, in my opinion, all the things wrong. Yeah.
But the funny thing is, it feels like a sketch from SNL because all of the words sound like bullshit that gamer people would talk about, right? It is all of the gaming words. All of them. Not just TTRPG or not just video games. It's also TTRPGs.
Yeah, no, this is a thing all about conversation. You're not gonna fight, but yet we've got magic blades, tank, healer, crowd control. We've got all the buzzwords.
It's every conceivable gaming thing you can think of thrown into the definitions here.
Am I saying that it was written by ChatGPT, by a large language model that cannot possibly get complete thoughts out? No, I'm not saying that. What I am saying is I wouldn't be surprised.
My head hurts.
Mine too, Metzgirl. So at the end of the day, we go kick or kickstart on this. Obviously, it's clear I'm a kick.
Yeah.
But, like, I hope to be proven wrong. I hope that it's just because I am too narrow-minded to understand the true genius of what's going on here. Because I would love, I would love to be proven wrong, but, you know, not for my dollars. More power to them. At least 1,000 people are gonna get, you know, are hopefully gonna get something in December 2028. And to you, we say good luck. To the rest of us, we'll see what it looks like upon release. And now you can close that window and no longer have your eyes bleeding.
All right. Trivia's next.
Yeah! Nerdflex time! Woo! Woo-hoo! All right, we've got some trivia questions in our trivia test bank. Metzgirl, if you will do the honors.
In BioShock Infinite, what film is on at the 1980s Parisian cinema seen during Elizabeth's Tear?
Interesting. So I've not played very much, well, really at all of BioShock Infinite.
I have not either.
But I know a couple of things about it, including but not limited to the fact that, like, they're seeing through to different areas of time inside of the thing. And so, like, you'll hear a barbershop quartet singing a song by the Beach Boys, because, you know, one of their artists like made a barbershop rendition of a Beach Boys song that he heard through one of these time portals. Anyway, so what I'm getting at is my guess, the reason why I'm gonna guess, and it is a complete guess, is I'm going to guess it is a movie like Alien or something, or at least their rendition of Alien in the BioShock in-universe. So I'm gonna, like, guess Alien, pure shot in the dark.
Sure, why not? Oh, it was Return of the Jedi. All right, then.
I guess I should have guessed something from 1980s.
Yeah, that's another, shall we?
Yes, absolutely.
Sonic 2's level select cheat code 1665-917 has what relevance?
I don't necessarily know the relevance. I just know that those were the numbers that you put in on the sound test or the sound select thing. Matter of fact, that screen is why when we do the mystery sounds, why I call it a sound test. It plays a sound, you play those numbered sounds in sequence, and then it does the cheat code. So I don't know what the answer to this is. I just know where you input it in Sonic 2.
That is wild that you named the sound test after it.
Yeah.
That is Yuki Nara's birthday.
Aww, that's so cool. What a delightful Easter egg.
Yeah, it's one of those things that, like, I don't know why you would know that, but it's a really silly, fun trivia to know. Anyway, third question, third and final. Super Smash Bros. N64. Which character does not need to be unlocked? The options are Luigi, Pikachu, Ness, and Jigglypuff.
I'm going to say Pikachu. Of those, Pikachu is the most popular, and I feel like maybe that's one of your starters. Wink, wink, haha. Starter Pokemon, haha.
That feels like a good answer.
Yeah, do you want to go for a different one?
I think it's trying to trip me up because I'm like, well, Luigi has to be included, but he doesn't. Like, Mario would need to be included first round.
Exactly. If it was Mario, that would be my guess, 100%.
I want it to be Ness just because I'm an Earthbound girl, but, like, I will stick with your answer. Pikachu.
Woo!
The question was from Sly Cooper.
We did it. Thanks, Sly Cooper, for the question.
And that has been Nerdflex.
Woohoo! All right. Well, now we turn to a little bit of legalese.
Legalese.
Metzgirl, thank you. Now, as y'all know, I am not a lawyer. I just play one on a podcast. But surprisingly, laws influence our video games more than we would think at first glance, as evidenced from our topic of the week most recently, laws and all sorts of things related. But I've got one that's not quite a law. It's not a law yet, because it's currently in committee or whatever they call that.
Sure.
But it's the Foreign Anti-Digital Piracy Act, or FADPA, F-A-D-P-A. So let me just open with this, that I don't know as I believe that the current rights holders of intellectual property don't already have enough ways to enforce their intellectual property rights. As evidenced, Metzgirl, let me just run through a couple of situations. In this, let's talk about Nintendo. Let's say I'm Nintendo, okay? And Metzgirl, I'm going to put you in a series of different roles that, who knows, might be true to life. Let's say I'm Nintendo and you are the runners of the Smash World Tour, gearing up for your 2023, event. And now maybe I, as Nintendo, maybe I've got another Smash tournament who's paid to be officially licensed, and I decide to shut you down on your third year. Who's to say? But I decide to shut you down as Nintendo. Any idea of how I, as Nintendo, would go about shutting down your non-officially licensed Smash Bros. Tournament?
Cease and desist letter.
Heck yeah, cease and desist letter.
And say, you're using our property. Yeah.
Yeah, there we go. Easy peasy, simple. They practically have these things fill in the blank like Mad Libs and shoot them out like candy.
Truth.
Metzgirl, let's say that I am Nintendo and you are a ROM hosting site, I don't know, Cool ROMs or something like that, and you're hosting ROMs on your website, and I decide to shut you down. Metzgirl, how do I go about that?
I do believe that would be a cease and desist takedown order.
Okay. You got me. All right. Let's try this. Metzgirl, let's say I am Nintendo and you are YouTube. Okay, the huge YouTube that we've all heard, know, love it, loathe it, anything like that. But let's say that on YouTube there is there's some content that I, as Nintendo, don't like. Let's say it's like emulation or such like that, and I want to turn those videos off. How would I go about that?
I do believe that would be a cease and desist. Yeah.
Cease and desist? Okay. This is, you're not gonna. Okay, let's say that I'm Nintendo and you are a streamer who's streaming a video game that before it has gone on sale, and I don't want you to spoil that.
Right, of course.
I think, I can stop belaboring the point. Obviously, what all these have in common is that Nintendo has and will forever and to the end of time tell either the individual to knock it off, or will tell
the company or the host or the whomever they have to tell. Yep.
Exactly. But they have some pretty easy, pretty straightforward ways to tell people to knock that kind of stuff off. And this isn't just true for Nintendo. This is true for any intellectual property rights holder. The point here is that there's already a way, and arguably a way too easy way to do so. Matter of fact, we talked about, Wizards of the Coast shutting down this Stardew Valley mod of Baldur's Gate, Baldur's Gate 3 style. It's just like they said, oh no, it was an accident. We didn't mean to. It's just like, that means it's way too darn easy to do. But, Metzgirl, I'm here to tell you, what if there was another way? A different way? A better way? What if, instead of just telling people to shut it down or else you're going to sue them, what if you could have a court order the internet service providers to completely block the websites that you felt were infringing on your content? What a wonderful world this would be, am I right?
Oh, yeah. That's a world I want to live in.
That is at the heart of the proposal for the Foreign Anti-Digital Privacy Act. The idea would be you get a court order and you have the internet service providers in, say, the United States block access to foreign websites because they're engaging in piracy.
Sure.
We don't need this to be easier.
Because it already is, yeah.
The current system's already way too easy to abuse, and I don't think this approach adds anything that we really need. The FADPA is currently something that is not law yet, but they're chatting about it. They're discussing it. When the FADPA gets out of committee, if it ever gets out of committee, we might need to talk to some of our elder statesmen, as it were, and let them know that this isn't the way. I'll keep y'all updated on the FADPA and if there is anything particularly direct to do about it, but just a little bit legalese for you. Till next time. Metzgirl, now we turn to the fun part of the show where we get to gush about the things that we've been watching and playing and having a good time with. What are you up to?
Oh gosh. I've been playing mini games. Some with you.
Yes.
We got to play Talisman, which is basically D&D the board game, which is fun and frustrating and takes way longer than you think it's going to every single time.
Every single time. But isn't that true of all board games?
That's fair. Most complicated games will take longer than you expect. But that was fun. It knocked my daughter off her reigning throne. So
she had it coming.
Also some D&D. We ran a little bit. And then there was a Spirit Fair, which I've been obsessing over. I'm almost halfway done already, which when I only play like 3-4 hours at a crack, it's and I usually I will play for like an hour a week maybe. And I kind of obsessed over that one while I was sick, and it was fantastic. And then Stardew, because I always play Stardew with you as well, because chilling and playing Stardew is the best. I think that's all the games I've been playing. How about you?
Well, obviously, a second on all the ones that we got a chance to play together. While I was at the Midwest Gaming Classic, I did get to play some Dance Dance Revolution because some awesome nerds with an arcade in Detroit brought out, a DDR machine and a few other things. So stuff was on free play. There were tons of pinball machines. Lam has some pictures of me and some of the games that I played. Had a great time there. Obviously, a little bit of GURPS, a little bit of D&D. I also finished off the game Tunic, which I had been playing. Loved it. Very cute, very fun game. Surprising
Is that the one with the fox?
Depth. It is the one with the fox. Yes.
I need to play that.
Yeah, it was really good. As for watching, I've mostly just been watching tons of little YouTube videos and whatever. Oh yeah. Nothing. I haven't really gotten into any new series yet. Did watch the Double Dragon movie, and I also watched the Minecraft movie.
So the Double Dragon movie was with me. I was gonna wait until you brought it up because it is the worst movie I've seen in a long time, and not funny bad haha completely. Some of it was just bad. About half of it was just plain bad, and then the rest of it was kind of funny because it was so bad, but there was no good, I would say, at all.
Agreed. Do you feel slighted that I convinced you to waste an evening watching that?
A little bit. But it was time with you, and I felt like my reactions were fueling you a little bit, so you're welcome.
Yes, the anger just gave me life.
The other thing we've been watching is Castle, and I know that it's an older show, and sometimes the things that pop up are absolutely hilarious, because in one of the episodes, we're up to season 6, I think, and so, at the very beginning, we're talking 2007, 8, 9-ish, somewhere in there. So one of the main characters pulls out an iPhone, and it's a big deal because he's a rich guy that has an iPhone, and I'm like, all right, I see you, 2009. This was a flex. And then there's just little things like that peppered in throughout that just make me giggle from a nerd standpoint.
Very cool.
But anyway, it's a propaganda show. I've been told that's a new phrase I learned. So if you are super against cops, it's not necessarily for you, but it is ridiculous and lovely in the best ways.
Well, good to know. Well, with that, this brings us to the end of our show. The scores at the end of the show are All of Us and Friendship 1, Nintendo plus 143%. Who knows? Maybe
Who knows?
It changes tomorrow.
But hey, 143% of 0 is still 0.
Indeed. Well, thanks everybody for tuning in, for being a part of this show that we call Two Nerds in a Pod. We appreciate you being here. Remember that you can catch the live recording most Mondays at 7 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Central on twitch.tv/Two Nerds in a Pod. And of course, you can catch the Two Nerds in a Pod recording posted later as the podcast version on any of the pod catchers. Leave a review if you can, if you like. That would be cool of you. Until we see you next time, remember to be excellent to each other and keep it nerdy, everybody. Bye.
Bye.